Welcome to the Metalionaire's Top Mining Executives Show, where we drill down, so to speak, and get the latest about what's happening in the field with the people who make the resource market what it is. Today, I have with us none other than Keith Neumeyer. Mr. Neumeyer has worked in the investment community since 1984. Began his career at a number of Canadian national brokerage firms, then moved on to work for several publicly traded companies in the resource and high technology sectors. His roles have included senior management positions and directorships, responsible in areas of finance, business development, strategic planning, corporate restructuring. Keith was the original and founding president of First Quantum Minerals, and then he founded First Majestic Silver in 2002. We all know that company, and First Mining Finance in 2015. He's also listed a number of companies on the Toronto Stock Exchange, as well as he has extensive experience dealing with financial, regulatory, legal, and accounting issues that are relevant to this industry. He's also won the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award in 2011, which is amazing, for the metals and mining category. How are you today, Keith?
Very good, Leor. Thanks for the opportunity to chat.
Okay, perfect. I want to, look, I'm glad to catch up with you here, and I hope this interview could get us some tough questions answered. Let's start with the upcoming U.S. elections. Do you see, on the field and just in your boardroom talks, any challenges or opportunities on the flip side that the winner of the election will determine? I know the Mexican peso has been very volatile with regards to Trump's polls, but my question is more long term. Is there any effect to this, or is it business as usual as far as you're concerned?
Well, I know the markets or the press want to say that one candidate's better for the market and one candidate is better for gold and vice versa and so on. But I just find all of that just rhetoric. It really doesn't matter, who's in power. I expect status quo to continue. I expect the Federal Reserve to continue to be the dominant player in the marketplace, and I expect that the Federal Reserves around the world, the central banks, will continually do what they're doing and print money and try to keep this economy afloat, try to keep the markets afloat, and the only way they can do it is by I don't think it really matters which candidate wins. If anything's going to change.
Okay, I understand your point of view, and let me ask you this: we broke the story about the Swiss National Bank and the Norwegian central banks buying mining shares. First Majestic has been one of those 25 mining shares. This is more than $1 billion position. Why do you think they're investing in the shares if they don't want anything to do with the physical? They actually had a vote 2 years ago in Switzerland, and they told the people, no, we don't want any gold reserves. This will do too many restraints. Do you see this continuing with more central bank? Has it affected the company in any way? Are there any unusually large institutional investors buying mining shares? How do you see this whole new territory play out?
It is quite interesting. The central banks have almost become, just equity funds, just big institutions that trade the market. Everyone talks about the governments trading the market, and it's pretty new, in our life that we actually see governments active in the equity markets. And it is quite strange. When I saw those stories, I was surprised, and I actually went and looked, and lo and behold, in fact, both of those central banks owned First Majestic, and I'm curious to know whether there's others out there that also own it. But in the case of those 2% two particular central banks, they're very transparent in their holdings. We don't know what most of the other central banks actually own because they don't tell us. They don't disclose anything. But look, the mining sector exploded in February of 2016, and it went straight up. Basically, the Huey went from 100 to 300 in a matter of 6 months, and it was an extremely strong moves. So any fund manager around the world, wanted to try to catch some of that gain, and I think that's exactly what they were doing.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were the ones behind, or to some effect, behind violent corrections that we suffered last week. This is like a new player in the market that you got to consider. And these guys, they don't play around. Their cost basis is zero. They basically print the new currency and buy the shares. That's truly remarkable. I want to ask you another thing here. Could you shed some light as a producer, as a company that actually mines the silver, produces, how as low oil prices affected the bottom line for producers, in a general way? And are companies now preparing, if at all, for higher oil prices? What's your take on this?
Well, for one thing, I'm a bear on oil, so I think we're going to test the lows that we saw, at the early part of 2016 in the mid 20 range, and so I wouldn't be, for my money, quite frankly, I'm not looking at investing in oil. I'm not worried about oil prices going up at all, and they're with everything that's going on in the world, I think that oil prices will, as I said, drop substantially from current levels. But how it affects the miners is quite interesting. It depends really where you are. In Mexico, Pemex, which is the national oil company, actually fixes the price. So we haven't, as a miner in Mexico, actually been affected positively by the world drop in oil prices yet. As of January 1st, 2017, the oil price, or corporations in Mexico, are allowed to start importing oil from the United States, which is going to be a great thing. So all of a sudden, starting in 2017, the corporations, including the miners, will get a big impact from the lower cost of energy. Energy makes up a substantial portion of our cost structure, so we're very much looking forward to it. Some of the areas that did positively impact our bottom line was chemicals, because much of the chemical industry is a derivative of oil, explosives and ammonia and things like that, and cyanide, of course, and many other chemicals that we consume on a regular basis. So we have seen drops in those inputs, which has been very helpful over the last couple of years.
That's very interesting, and I bet most people didn't know that the oil market in Mexico is becoming much more open, and this is good news. Now, silver for a minute. Could you, from experience, help viewers realize how intensive and complex is it really, to put a mine together, or even find silver today at a substantial economic, amount? And basically, where do you see going forward silver mining, as a whole? How advanced and how sophisticated will the people that the entrepreneurs in the business need to be to really make shareholders a fortune going forward?
Well, silver is a lot rarer than people think it is, and I've been quoted many times and said many times in different formats that we're mining 9 to 1, which is quite strange. For every 1 ounce of gold, we're mining 9 ounces of silver, and we're trading around 70 to 1. And that just can't continue for long. And just a few years ago, we were at 11 to 1, and that ratio, is, as far as I can tell, is dropping. We're seeing mine supply come off stream. We're seeing we've seen a lot of silver come off stream over the last couple of years as a result of the distressed prices. We've seen zinc come off. Zinc mines shut down over the last couple of years, and a lot of silver comes from zinc mines. So we're seeing a lot of depletion of silver resources or reserves around the world. And one interesting stat that your listeners may want to look at is our purity. When I put together First Majestic, and we're now just approaching our 16th year in business, which is we call silver company. A company, in my view, if you got revenue of a particular metal of over 50% of that particular metal, then you should be called, that type of metal company. And in the case of silver, of course, we're talking about, and there was, a good handful of them, Pan American and Silver Standard and Coeur d'Alene, and there's several of them around. And today, First Majestic is the only silver producer out there that's actually maintained its high purity. 70% of our revenues from the sale of silver, which is very, very unique. And over the next couple of years, that percentage is actually going to go up as a result of a couple of new mines coming into production over the next 3 or 4 years. So, as other companies have been producing less and less silver on a percentage basis, we'll be producing more.
That's very interesting. So let's talk about this then. With regards to silver again, for the past few decades, it is mostly an industrial metal, but since ancient times, for many thousands of years, the proper role of it was money, and same as gold. In the circles that you are roaming at and the people that you get to talk with, is there any indication from governments or central banks that they will start to accumulate silver in reserves? Look, the ratio is 70-1. You already said this. The historical ratio is not 70-1, and it just makes sense. If I was a central planner taking a look at this, that I would want some silver in my portfolio and not just gold. Maybe in Asia, even more than in the Western world, they have a much longer tradition of this. So are you taking any indication of this, or what's going on?
Well, I know there's a ton of silver and gold, of course, going over to Asia on a regular basis, and then a lot of our production, when I speak to the different banks that we sell our metal to, I know just from conversations from them that a lot of the metal ends up over in Asia. So, whatever they're using it for, I have no clue. But, I look at silver as a strategic metal. I don't look at it as money. I don't look at it as a precious metal. I think it's very strategic. We need really two metals, which is really copper and silver. Without copper and silver, our planet just would not operate. And the human race is expecting to continually modernize the planet, bring green energy and electrify parts of the planet that currently aren't electrified, and bring technology to areas of the planet that currently don't have it. And this is going to require an enormous amount of copper and silver, and you need silver in your portfolio, and because I think silver will dramatically outperform the other metals, of course, including gold. And I think, as you touched on just a few minutes ago, the ratio is out of whack, and it should be closer to current mining ratios.
Well, just to follow up on this, what would be the biggest two uses of silver today in the world?
Well, electronics for sure. Everything. Look, everyone has a cell phone. Everyone has a laptop. Everyone has an automobile. Everyone has a refrigerator and a television, and there's 3 ounces of silver in a 40-inch flat screen TV. So there's a ton of silver being used in all these technologies, and people aren't really aware of it. They think, silver is jewelry, or silver is silverware, I guess, or whatever. But silver is very much consumed by the electronics industry, and that's where the big growth is for silver going forward.
Right. Well,
including solar panels and so on.
And you know what, Keith? This is why I love the silver narrative, because the banks have made it so that it's not money. So their demand for it is not as high as, obviously, it's not as anywhere close as their demand for gold. So the prices have kept very much low for many years. That has affected entrepreneurs who don't want to get into the silver business. So you got little supply, and you said everyone has a cell phone, everyone has a TV, but most of the world, they don't. And the middle classes of these young demographics in India and China, when they start consuming these products that we in the Western world have enjoyed for decades, that's going to be a huge backwind for silver. I want to talk about the companies that you run directly or are heavily involved with. What can you share with viewers? What's going on right now? What are you excited about? Just give us a drill down one by one.
Well, sure. The First Majestic Silver, it's a primary silver producer. It has 6 mines active in Mexico. We're the second largest silver producer in the country. We produced in 2016 somewhere around 20 million equivalent ounces of silver, being gold and lead and zinc and silver, of course. 70% of our revenues from the sale of silver. So, we're excited about the metal price these days. We started the year 2016 at $13.50 silver, and I can tell you, Q1 was a tough quarter, and all of a sudden, by Q3 we have $20 silver. I know it's in the mid 17s right now, but it's been a pretty volatile year for the metal, but it's really increased our cash flows dramatically. The profits that have been coming into the company over the last 3 quarters have been just fantastic, and it's really good to see our treasury as that the amount of cash we have in our bank account today is at record highs, not seen in the company's history before. So we're very excited about that. So we're looking at investing capital now, and we're expanding our exploration programs, we're expanding our development programs, we're looking at building a couple more mines, and we're really starting to look at building the business again. And that's quite a lot different than over the last 5 years when we're cutting costs, just to stay alive. And I think we did a heck of a job doing it. And then the worst is behind us, and now we're entering this new bull market phase for silver and gold, of course. And it's now time to start investing capital. So that's exciting for us and our shareholders. And First Mining Finance, a company I formed back in 2015. This is a very unique business. It was the perfect storm that happened in the mining sector, where you could buy gold ounces in the ground, developed ounces in the ground for less than $10 an ounce, which I hadn't seen ever in my 35 years of being in this business. So I was compelled to go out and try to buy some of these companies, and I was expecting I'd buy 3 or 4 or 5 maybe, but over a space of 13 months, First Mining Finance acquired 8 companies, and we built from 0 ounces. We had 18 projects, but there were no definable ounces in the ground, and we went from to 28 projects we currently own today, and we've got around 15 million ounces of combined silver, and that's including historic ounces, inferred ounces, M&I, and of course, I'm saying all categories. So, just look at the company's website and get more clarification on how those ounces look and then where they are, because they're spread out through half a dozen projects in Canada, great jurisdictions, good grade projects, and each one of these projects, as far as I'm concerned, will be a mine ultimately, and that's why we bought them. So the company today is, I don't think, you can have the successes that we had. Again, I don't think it can be duplicated. What First Mining did was a very unique situation, and it was able to build this portfolio up very quickly. And but now the window's closed, so now it's time for First Mining to develop its assets. It's going to be launching drill programs over the next 18 months on its portfolio, and it'll start developing more ounces, I hope. And I think it's a pretty exciting story, but it's very much focused on gold in Canada, and First Majestic Silver is focused on silver production in Mexico. So they're quite different companies.
Sure, and you know what? I've talked to many people that have tried to emulate First Mining, but this is not doable. You really touched on the point. It was a perfect storm, a very time-sensitive moment, and this idea behind it, the business model, is simply superb. I want to ask you this. Are you seeing any signs, just talking to people, just talking to investors, are you seeing signs of a bubble forming, or is this really, really early stage? People are very confused. Is this just slowly coming out of a bear market? Because that's what it feels to me. What can you comment on this? You speak to shareholders, obviously.
Well, shareholders are concerned. In the case of First Majestic, it's just been crazy volatility, and we came into 2016 with a $500 million market cap, down from $3 billion in 2011. In a matter of 6 months, our market cap went up 6 times. So we went from $500 million to over $3 billion market cap in 6 months. And it was just crazy. And now today the market cap is about $1.4 billion. So it's been, almost, more than cut in half since its highs back in August. So, of course, shareholders are, very distressed, and it's hard to explain. As a CEO of the company, I look at the share price, and it's dumbfounding. The way it acts, right? And the problem is you've got all these hedge funds, these momentum players who will jump on these stocks when they start to move, and they drive them to ridiculous highs, and then when things go down, they drive them to ridiculous lows, and the mining stocks like First Majestic and many others should not have been trading where they were trading back at the end of 2015, 2016, or at the beginning of 2016. But there was just such a hate on the industry. No one wanted anything to do with it, and it created that perfect storm I referred to, and that's how First Mining Finance was created, to take advantage of that perfect storm. But when the market woke up and the money started to flow into the mining sector is pretty small. You got a lot of money out there that was sitting on the sidelines. It just came in like crazy and just drove these stocks up, not just First Majestic, but many, many others as well. So, look, I think it's the beginning of a bull market. I've seen bull markets, several bull markets in my career. I've seen several bear markets in my career. We had a devastating 5-year bear market that created stupid valuations, and now the mining sector is waking up a little bit. The institutions are starting to look at the sector again as a legitimate place to invest capital. The metals themselves have come out of 5-year bear markets and starting to look a lot better. So there's just a lot of good things happening, in the sector for us, and I think we're in the first inning. And who knows if this is another 10-year bull market. The last one went from 2002 to 2012, and I can tell you, your listeners, that market was not straight up. There were several times during that 10-year period that I thought that bull market was over, and it wasn't. It just kept going. When it ended in 2011, 2012, yes, it was definitely over, but there were several big corrections during that 10-year period, and this is just one of these corrections I think we see in normal bull markets.
Right. Well, you said that the crazy low valuation in December and January was what prompted you to open up a new company. That's what prompted Wealth Research Group to be formed right at those levels, right at those times, and we've enjoyed great success as well, and the members have enjoyed it as well. Now I see something that's really unique. You got a very overpriced S&P 500, a very overpriced NASDAQ. All the large indices around the globe are century highs. Companies, well, not companies, but cash is abundant, and you know what? Mining is looking very good, very attractive, and we could see a very, very violent move up again after this correction has made things in bargain territory. Keith, I want to say it's been a pleasure to have you on here, and I know this helps people understand more about what's going on and gives them a broader point of view about the resource industry and how brilliant and gifted some of the people at the helm really are. So thank you very much for speaking with us and being here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and thanks very much for your time.
This summary is designed to make sure that you get those golden nuggets from this great interview with Keith Neumeyer. I asked Keith at first about the effect of the U.S. elections and who's in power, does it affect business. He said that it doesn't matter. I couldn't agree more, especially considering the fact that Congress is no longer doing anything with regards to, fiscally. It seems the Fed and other central banks are the only game in town, and so make sure that you download our exclusive report about bank manipulation called The End Game, because it has a powerful portfolio idea on how to prepare for what's coming. The other thing regarding central banks buying mining shares, Keith, he knows that the Swiss central bank and the Norwegian own some of his companies. We broke the story with Jumping Ship, the micro documentary, if you've seen it. And I think that the big take from this trend is to search for targeted buyouts, companies that are small cap but are strategic enough with large cap companies want to take them over, and that's because they need some good projects right now, And so if you do one thing, read this report, because you will be in a position to find these companies in advance. It's called Targeted Buyouts. It's on our special reports page on the website, or go to wealthresearchgroup.com/takeover targets. Keith also talks about silver, and he knows more about this subject than anyone else. In fact, I've just completed an exclusive report on the best 3 companies, some of the best silver companies that are around in the world. I think this report is perfect for Metalionaires looking for exposure to silver, and go to wealthresearchgroup.com/silver leverage. As always, our main goal is to help you gain in strength mentally and financially by listening to others, internalizing and applying what is realistic to you. Make sure you tune in every week as our guest list continues to get better and better. Till next time.